US senators are set to be sworn in as jurors for Donald Trump's second impeachment trial. It's the next step in the process after the House of Representatives delivered the article of impeachment to the Senate. Now, Mr. Trump is accused of inciting insurrection on Capitol Hill.
Leaders in the US House of Representatives marched across the Capitol building to the Senate, delivering a single article of impeachment against Donald Trump. It was in these same halls that Trump supporters ran riot just 3 weeks ago. These scenes of chaos have led to the former president's second impeachment. He's accused of encouraging violence and stirring up a mob to storm the Capitol. 5 people were killed in the mayhem.
In violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, Donald John Trump engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by inciting violence against the government of the United States.
Senators will now be sworn in to act as jurors in Mr. Trump's impeachment trial, but it won't start immediately. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has agreed to a request from Republican leader Mitch McConnell calling for more time. The former president will now have until the 9th of February to prepare his defense. The trial will be a huge distraction during the early days of the Biden presidency, but many US lawmakers are keen to try and convict Mr. Trump.
Everyone wants to put this awful chapter in American history behind us, but sweeping it under the rug will not bring healing. The only way to bring healing is to actually have real accountability, which this trial affords.
A 2/3 majority is required to impeach Mr. Trump. With all 50 Democrats expected to vote for a conviction, 17 Republicans will have to vote the same way. President Biden says he doesn't believe this will happen. If convicted, Mr. Trump will not be able to run for office again.
Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Simon, they're cracking on with this impeachment trial. President Trump's, it gets even closer. What are the next steps in this process?
Well, there's the things we're going to see publicly and the enormous amount of work that's going to be taking on behind the scenes, Dawn. And it's really the work that's taking place behind the scenes that is the most intriguing. First of all, of course, Donald Trump has appointed a lawyer, Butch Bowers of South Carolina. He will be assembling Donald Trump's defense and presenting it on the former president's behalf. There's no expectation that Donald Trump will be present for his impeachment trial. It's highly likely it will be placed into the hands of his lawyers. Prosecutors on the Senate side will meanwhile be developing their arguments against Donald Trump, assisted by the impeachment managers in the House of Representatives. But what we can't see is the enormous lobbying effort taking place behind the scenes, with supporters of President Donald Trump deluging the offices on Capitol Hill of Republicans in the US Senate and warning them, and it is a warning, not to vote to convict the former president at trial. They're being told, these senators, that if they go ahead and betray President Donald Trump, they will pay by facing primary challenges back in their home states and a revolt of voters in those home states who support President Trump, which is why right now there is no prospect of 17 Republicans crossing over and joining the Democrats to convict former President Trump, even as evidence continues to mount about the seriousness of that situation here in Washington on January the 6th.
Yes, 17 senators would be a lot to hope for. But away from the Senate, Simon, President Biden, he's pretty bullish on his vaccination goals. What's the latest on the rollout?
Yeah, well, some would argue too bullish. I mean, President Biden here yesterday indicated that anyone in the United States who wants to get a vaccine is going to be able to get a vaccine by the spring. That seems, for many communities across the country, to be an enormously steep mountain to climb from where things exist at the moment. He also predicted that the country is on track to achieve herd immunity, a majority of its citizens vaccinated by the end of the summer. Again, that is a more optimistic prognosis than some of his public health officials have offered, because Dr. Anthony Fauci, his chief medical advisor, always conditions that prediction by saying you'll get to herd immunity later this year, but only if vaccine hesitation and vaccine skepticism, and there's a lot of that here in the United States, can be overcome. It also is curious that just a week ago, the Biden team was saying that they were starting from scratch on vaccine distribution and rollout, given that they claimed they'd been left bare cupboards by the Trump administration and no workable plan for vaccine distribution. And yet, miraculously, a week later, President Biden is suggesting that anyone in America that wants to get a vaccine will be able to within just the next few weeks. So questions for the White House, I think, in the next few hours about just how Joe Biden explains all of that to the public.
All right, Simon, thank you very much for that. Simon Marks there in Washington, D.C.